Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and in this part I'm going to show you how to do this section of my crochet along. So this I chose the alpine stitch and I wasn't sure how it would perform in cotton. It looks a lot different to the way that it looks with acrylic yarn, but I like it. So I've decided I'm doing it in purple and silver because I'd chosen a lot of pastel colours and I thought I'd better bring in some that are more muted or darker. Now, excuse me, just a little word of warning, my equipment seems to have had a mind of its own and it just did a spinneroonie 180. And the other day it did something very weird as well, but luckily it did it during a paused part. So if anything like that should happen, do not understand why. It's like it's possessed, but hopefully it won't anymore. So I'm going to show you how to do this then. And I started with one colour and I ended with the other. So just bear with me a second while I clear this away, bring in the swatch and we'll get started. Okay, so here's my swatch and I've not got any more of those colours left over, so I'm going to have to choose another couple of colours to do this with. And I've got a pink colour, which I've already used, and this really lovely pale blue colour. So I'm just going to join where I left off, exactly the same as I always do, and I'm going to do that and turn my work. So the first row I'm going to do with this colour. Bear with me a second. Sorry, I had some, you know, get religious callers from time to time, knock at the door. I had some, so bear with me a sec. So yeah, the first row that I'm going to do is a row of UK treble crochets, which, as we all know, are double crochets in the US. So first of all, I'm going to do my stack. So I make a UK double crochet, which is a single, and then in this line over here, this one bar, that vertical bar, insert my hook, yarn over and pull it up, yarn over and pull through both. So you should be familiar with that now, as this is a little way into the crochet along now, and we have done it before. So I'm going to do a whole row of UK trebles. So if I say UK trebles and you work in US terms, you will know that I mean the double crochet in the US. So that's all we're going to do all the way along, nice and simple. And obviously you've seen this stitch a million times already. It would be boring to watch me go all the way across, so I will pause the video and catch up with you once I get to the other end. Okay, so I've made it almost to the end. I've got one left and I've stopped there because with this particular part, I've changed colour well every time I've done the pattern repeat. So you might want to make this in all one colour, but if you want to change colours with me, then I insert my hook and pull up my last stitch and go through two and stop there. And then I bring in my new colour, which for some reason is a very long tail here. Okay, so I'm going to hold that at the back so it doesn't become all baggy, and just hold this as well. It has actually become baggy. So I'm holding on to that at the back and bringing in my new colour and just finishing my stitch with that colour. Do a chain quick, cinch it down. And now I'm just going to tie these off because I don't want them to travel, become baggy. And I'm going to cut this yarn. I mean, some people like to, you know, work their yarn up the side. It depends really on what stitch I'm using as to whether I want to do that or not. Okay, so now we're going to turn our work. And this row is going to be nice and simple. I'm going to work over the tails again. And nice and easy, one UK double crochet, which, as we all remember, single crochet in the US. So this is now the wrong side, and I'm just going to do one in every single stitch all the way along. So whenever we change colour, we would change colour on this double crochet single crochet row. This will be the one where we do change colour. So it's hard to do this with this angle. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm also going to pull in this to keep my ends nice and straight and keep my from sticking out. Okay, so I'm going to do one in every stitch along, working over the tail. I'll catch up with you guys when I get to the end. Okay, so I'm all the way to the end now. I've done my last stitch. I'm going to turn my work. And my first stitch is going to be a stack into that very first stitch, as we have done. Nearly had the hook around the wrong way. Nice and simple, just as we have done all the way through. Yes, some people like to carry their yarn up. I'm just not keen on the way that that looks. I've done it in the past, but it's just sometimes you can see those. It looks a little messy at times. And, you know, I know that changing colour can look messy, but yeah, anyway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work into this stitch that we created, our very first row of this section. We're going to yarn over and we're going to do a front post treble crochet or a front post double crochet US. So we're going to go into the sort of side of the stitch and come out the other side. So we have the stitch on our hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull right up and we're going to complete our UK treble crochet. Okay, so then we're going to do one treble crochet in the next stitch. Make sure it is the next one and you've got that unworked stitch there behind. Okay, so we're going to do that again in the next stitch. So not this one, because this is the one where we've put a treble. We're going to go in, out the other side, yarn over and pull up, yarn over and complete the stitch. Okay, and then we're going to do one. There's our unworked stitch right behind there. We're going to go in here. And then we're going to do that all the way along. We're going to skip this one. We're going to go in the next. And then in our next stitch, we're just going to put a normal UK treble. So that's the repeat all the way to the end. You do want to pull up quite a way, otherwise this will, see that is already starting to pull that down. So pull up more than you think you need, just so that it doesn't do that, because we are otherwise going to make a little bit of work for ourselves. It will pull it out as we do go further into the blanket, I know. But anyway, I want you to continue along this line until we get to our last couple of stitches, and I will catch up with you there. Okay, so I have these few stitches remaining, and we're going to do our front post as normal. And then in the last two stitches, because there's the unworked one, we're going to place one in each stitch. Now, if you've lost a stitch along the way, you can just do one. But you might, if you've got the right stitch count, that's great. As I always say, if you've lost one along the way, the world will not end. We will just work with it. So what we're going to do now is, I should have said not to finish that stitch, but to bring in the previous colour, because we're changing colour again. We always change colour on the UK double crochet row, which is this next one coming up. Okay, so I'm going to cut my yarn. Whoops. It does help to cut the yarn when you're cutting the yarn. And just change the colour over again. And now it's quite straightforward, because we are just going to be repeating those last two rows. So this row, returning our work, is the UK double crochet row. And I will stick with you for one more colour change, because then you can see how it works when you're, I've got a feeling this keeps travelling. It does. I think my my equipment may be on the way out, guys. I do have another one, but this was the better one. I might have to think of another solution if that's the case. So one in each all the way to the end, nice and simple, working over the tails so that you don't have to sew them in if that's what you want to do. And yep, again, I will pause the video then because it's a boring watch, and I will see you guys when I get to the end of this row. Okay, so this row is a very similar to, I've got hair, hang on. Wouldn't be something if you didn't crochet your hair in, wouldn't it? So we're going to do a row very similar to this row here, but it starts differently. And they alternate starting and ending in a different way. Okay, so we're going to do our stack as usual to get us up to the height of a UK treble. And we're going to put one more UK treble in the next stitch. So we have 2 at the beginning. We had 2 at the end of this row. Now we're going to have 2 at the beginning. Sorry about that, guys. I had to sneeze. Ooh. Okay, so where we have spiked, we are not spiking, and where we had a normal treble, we are front post doing our spike stitch. So we drop into the row below. That's what the spike means, and it's a front post. So we're going to go around this one and out the other side, yarn over, pull up high, remember, because we need this to go to a high stitch. And then in the next one, we're just going to put one normal UK treble, and around the stitch that we haven't done as a front post, we're going to do the next one, and there's that unworked stitch. We're going in the next one with a normal UK treble. So that's this repeat this time around. We're going to spike this one, and then there's the unworked stitch. We're going to go in the next one. And that is how it's going to look. So we're going to do this until we get to the last few stitches at the end. And then there's our unworked. I will come back to you and show you what to do next. Okay, so I'm within my last few stitches. There's our unworked stitch. So I'm going to put my treble in there. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to do my post, because in the last spiky round, we had 2 at the end, but within this one, we just have 1 at the end. I made that stitch a little tight, never mind. So that is how we end off. So now our repeat is we alternate between this spike, we change colour on this round coming up. And then once we've got back with our UK double crochets, we will be copying this one. So it will be one stack, or one, you know, the treble that it represents, a spike, a normal treble, a spike, a normal treble, a spike. I've lost count there. And then we will come back after changing colour, once again to the pink, or whatever colour you're choosing. And the previous round will end with the 2, as I said before. And this round, row, I always say round when it's a row when it's a round, we'll start with 2. So the stack and a 1 on its own, and then we start with our spiking. So that's the repeat. We'll copy this row, and then, so if you're changing colour every couple of rows like I am, then whatever colour you've chosen for this kind of very light blue will always be the same. It will always be that you start with 1 and you do your spike and have 2 at the end. And whatever colour you're using for this spike one, you will have the 2 on their own and then the spike at the beginning, and work your way all the way to the end. Now, all I've done at the end is changed my colour. Bring in my new colour, my colour, for my next round. So imagine that you've done all the rounds that you want to do with this. And how many did I do? I think it was, that's what it looks like at the back. So I did my initial round. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colour changes. So, 12 rows of the actual pattern and 1 row to start it and 1 row to end it. So 14 rows altogether. So now I'm going to just tie this off because I nearly forgot. And that would have probably worked its way loose because it's cotton and it would have been all baggy and not particularly attractive. So I'm just going to finish off. Now it's worth looking at that some of our stitches pull our work in and some keep it lovely and straight and some pop it outward. And this is quite normal and it's to be expected, and it will not matter because we are going to put a border on this blanket and the weight of it will block it for itself. So we don't have to worry about any of that at all. So we're going to just do imagine you're on your final row because, this is just the swatch. I'm not going to do the full amount for it. I nearly tried to crochet with the tail. And we're just going to do an end off row of 1 UK double crochet in each. And obviously this is your wrong side. So when we get to the end of our section, we will start our new part on the right side. Okay, so that's just 1 simple row of UK double crochets to end all the way to the end. Nice and simple. And that'll be the end of this section. It's fairly quick work actually, don't you? I find this grows very quickly. Now I may do, depending on my commitments this week and how busy I get, I may do another one for this week because obviously time's rolling on and we do want to get on quite a bit with it. So I will do some more as and when I can. So it might not be that you'd have to wait until next week or next Tuesday. I seem to put these out on a Tuesday, but you might not have to wait that long before the next one comes along. So just might as well stick with you all the way to the end of this row and have a look and see what it looks like at the end. But yeah, so I'm enjoying working on this, I have to say. I'm not actually, I wanted to bring in some deeper colours, but now I've seen the swatch in these 2 colours, I wish I had kept it at more pastel shades, but I wanted to bring the purple in. I do have a lighter purple as well that I was going to pair it with, but I opted for the silver. And anyway, I think it's nice to just bring in some new different kind of colours to break it up. Whoops, I didn't go through 2 loops there. Doesn't want to go through 2 loops. Oh my goodness. Okay, so nearly at the end. It's really hard to get into the stitches with a camera in the middle. If you wonder why, I think I might work this slowly all the time. I really don't. When I pause it, I'm able to get a head of steam up. But just working with on the swatch with the camera in the way, it's not the easiest. So cut the yarn, do my chain to cinch right down, pull that through, and that ends off this section. And that's what that's going to look like. So obviously yours will be more in keeping with this. You'll have a nice big section, getting so big now that it's hard to keep it on the table in one piece. So that's what yours will be like. You can even add more rows or do fewer if you'd like. That's just a tail that needs cutting off. It's got a bit fluffy at the end there. I'll get rid of that. I don't want to get rid of it. I'm doing the wrong thing. It's actually gone through 2 stitches, I think. There we go. It's gone. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. Obviously, whatever colours you choose, you can even use one as a variegated and one has not. If you want, that might look really effective. Anyway, thank you so much for taking part in this. I truly do appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one, and remember, it may not be too far off. Bye bye for now.